We're actually holding closer to the end of the Tanya, holding chapter 52 of Tanya, which I'll share with you the Tanya in a moment. I'll share with you the actual page, and we do it every Sunday. And we're coming to closer to the 52nd and 53rd chapter of Tanya. The Alter Rebbe, his journey of Chassidus, of learning Chassidus and Kabbalah together, the Alter Rebbe taught us of the expression and the teaching of the teaching of the Maggid, which the Maggid said, "Mipsari echaz echzalakad." The Maggid said that a yid, that a person can from his own body, he can see godliness. He can have some kind of an understanding in the way the Eibishter created the world, in the way God wanted the agenda in the world. We can see it from our own physical reality. And if we'll be able to understand the way our body works and the connection of our body and our neshama, which it's interesting, the Ayoyim Yoyim today, in the day-to-day of the Rebbe, the Rebbe writes today in the Ayoyim Yoyim, I'll get it for you. I don't want to repeat the Rebbe's saying without saying it the way the Rebbe said it. So he said as follows, and let me bring it up. So the Rebbe writes today, second. The Rebbe writes today in the Yom Yom, he says, the routine of the day begins with saying Maidani. We say the first thing we wake up in the morning, we say Maidani. Maidani means acknowledgement for you. Maidani lefanecha is to be neshmasi. That I acknowledge before God that He returned my neshama. He gave me my neshama back. And he says this in the morning before even washing your hands. Right? Do you know that you're not allowed to say a davar shebekdusha in Torah and Jewish law? You're not allowed to say a davar shebekdusha without washing your hands. And here we say Maidani. The second we wake up in the morning, we say Maidani. Even while your hands are impure spiritually. I'm not talking about your hands are clean or not. Your hands are pitayda. You're not allowed to say God's name before you do Netilas Yadayim. So here you say Maidani lefanecha. I acknowledge the concept of my neshama and the Maidani before I even wash my hands. So the Rebbe says the reason is that all impurities in the world, even the purity of going to sleep in the morning, you need to wash your hands to take away that level of impurity. All the impurities of the world do not defile a Jew's Maidani, a Jew's acknowledgement. A Jew's acknowledgement in the world, in his connection to God, his acknowledgement that I acknowledge that I have a neshama, that cannot be defiled. Nothing can be metama the Jew's maidani. He might lack one thing or another. A Jew might lack things in life, but his maidani, his acknowledgement that a Jew acknowledges connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, remains intact in anything that he might do. So how do we see this in a very practical way? Again, the way we see our neshama. So we see that our neshama is a spiritual concept, right? We all know neshama is a godly concept, is a spiritual concept, and this neshama comes in a guf, comes in to be nishmasi, that the Eibishter God returned the neshama be in me, in my body. And this body, this relationship between my neshama, my body, and my guf is a very delicate relationship. It's not a very pashta, it's not a very simple relationship. It's extremely a very delicate relationship. And that's how we pray. As you daven, you start your davening, you say all the bracha, birchas hashacha. This relationship between the neshama and the guf, between the soul and the body, which the ultimate of the soul gives all the powers to the body, This is a very delicate relationship. It's not so pashut, and therefore we thank God for this connection. We thank God that the body and the soul work together in unison, because that's a miracle. When you say the bracha, for example, if they're going to a restroom, you see in that bracha alone that we thank God how the Eibishter created all the connections, that everything works and everything is open, and nothing, things that are open, things that are closed should be closed. And it's not a pashta thing. We take it for granted, the body and the soul, and until Chashom somebody gets sick, and then they realize that this relationship is not such a simple relationship. It's a very, very delicate relationship, and that's why we say Birchas HaShachar. You have all the 15 blessings that God gave us, seichel, that our mind works well, and that we see, and that we talk, and that we walk, and that we clothe ourselves, we stand up, we walk. All these things that are pashut, miraculous concepts that happen every day in our life, and we take these things for granted. Really, we should not take it for granted. And we should acknowledge, and that's why the Maidani is the acknowledgement that we say that the Eibishter put together a neshama, which is a godly energy, a godly force, and a guf, and a body. And I realize that this relationship might not be forever. It's not an ever relationship. It's not an ever till Mashiach comes and Tchias HaMesim, and then according to Chassidus, we'll live forever. Until then, this relationship, as we say in Tillim, this relationship is a timeline relationship, and that's where the Gemara says a person should feel that like he's going to die every day, because who knows when this relationship comes to an end. Mitchem, we should all have this relationship for many, many, many more years, but who knows? There's no surety, and nobody has a guarantee. Nobody comes down with a guarantee of what's going to be, and that's the secret. That's what we say. I'm mavis v'achai b'yad Hashem. The Eibishter, life and death. That you're born is b'yad Hashem. That a person leaves. B'korcha atachai, b'korcha atameis. These are two things that are not in the control of our being, because this is pashut, a very delicate, a very complex, a very deep relationship. So that I'm just saying this because it does emphasizes the teaching of the Maggid. The Maggid said that from really, I don't gotta go far to see godliness. I can go to myself. I can see for myself. The Maggid always taught lech lecha, about Shem Tov's teaching. God tells Abraham, you want to find God, lech lecha. Go within yourself, you'll find godliness. You'll find God right within you. You don't got to go very far. He's standing, he's in you. You have a neshama. You have a godly soul. So you don't have to go far to find this concept. So the Alter Rebbe is giving this analogy of neshama. If you have a question you may ask, just unmute yourself and ask a question, any question you may have. So the Alter Rebbe continues, explains, gives the mashal of a neshama and a guf. That the neshama, that in essence, there are three components to a neshama and a guf, to this concept. You have the neshama, the way it's above the guf. The neshama is above the guf. The neshama is self and it's like to be the shmasi. The neshama is above myself, is there before I was born, and it's to be later. The neshama is thus coming into guf is the vessel. So the neshama is above it. It's higher than it. And then you have the koiches hanefesh ben neshama. The neshama comes into the guf, and this neshama has all the koiches of the guf. The koiches of the nefesh that's for the guf. So within this neshama has all the powers of the guf, from the head to toe. This neshama has all the capabilities. It can see, it can hear, it can talk, and it has all its capabilities. It's not lacking anything. And then the way the neshama comes into the guf, the way the neshama comes actually into the guf to be able and gives each the chayis of its existence. from head to toe. So where does this neshama start? Where does the journey of the neshama start? The way it comes into the different aspects of the guf. So we know that the neshama starts in chachma, in the mind, in the chachma of the person. So chachma, wisdom, chachma, bina, das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Which over here we're talking about chachma. Chachma is the highest point, which from chachma of the wisdom of the brain, if you want to say the brain, the energy of the brain. Ultimately, we know even in science that brain gives. Your brain dead, you're dead. So if the brain, I'm not going into the argument. Your brain dead, you're dead. If the heart, you're dead. Separate argument in Jewish law. But in general, the brain gives the life force to the rest of the body, and everything starts off in the chachma. And why is it that way? Because that's why it says in the Torah, "Kulam b'chachma sisa." The Eibishter does everything in chachma. So just like it starts off with the brain in a human being, the human being is a cosmos of the whole world. Kulam b'chachma sisa. The Eibishter created everything through chachma, and he brought it out. The chachma was brought out through dibur, through speech. That's why Asara Mamaris, Nivra Elam, with 10 utterances that God created the world. And that's in the Kabbalah, that is the concept of Malchus. You have chachma is the beginning, Malchus is the end, is the facilitator of chachma, which takes chachma, Malchus takes everything from chachma till the level of Yisayid. It brings it brings it all in to dibur, and it expresses and it creates, and the Eibishter created. So too, our dibur, which is the concept of Maisa, which is also symbolic the aspect of action. Our dibur takes chachma and all the esses svidas, 10 manifestations of godliness, and it creates things. It develops things. Shava, dibur, maisa, as a lavushi hanashama, thought, speech, and action. So if you have that analogy, if you're going to the neshama and a body through the concept of the way the Eibishter created the world, you want to give an analogy. Again, it's only an analogy because you can't compare God to a human being. It's an analogy. It's a mashal. It's important to emphasize that everything is a mashal. The Torah dibur kalashim and Adam. The Torah talks the way humans talk, and the Eibishter wanted that we would understand godliness to each one to their capacity. Should we understand God? So therefore, it's an analogy. It's a mashal. The mashal is the Eibishter also. You have in the Eibishter atzmus emuhus. You have the essence of God. Atzmus emuhus, the way that God is above the world. Then you have the way God comes into the world. God comes into the world. And in the way God comes into the world, where everything is ultimately in God, and God is the essence of the whole world. And then you have the concept of Malakalamim, the way the Eibishter comes in as Machaya, gives life to every different aspect in the world. And once the Eibishter gives life to every different aspect in the world, now you have different levels in the world. You have as we learned, you have four basic in Kabbalah. You have four basic levels of the world: Doimim, Tzameach, Chai, Medaber, inanimate objects, Tzameach, vegetation, Chai, animal, and Medaber, which is a human being. So the way this is revealed, just like in the body, that the way the neshama is revealed in the mind is different than the way that the neshama is revealed in the foot. Even though to be a kaima shlema, to be a complete body, you need the mind and the foot. Baruch Hashem, to be a healthy body, nobody wants to be handicapped, God forbid. He needs to have his whole body, even the toenail, even his toes he needs. He needs to have every part of the body. So too, the Eibishter needs to have the whole world. Even though there are different levels. There's a rock and there's a human being. And there's no comparison between the rock and the human being. The human being is a madaber, he's an intellectual, and the rock is an inanimate object. And therefore, they have different purposes. And the revelation of God is different within the rock and within the human being. But ultimately, where does God reveal himself in the world? Is in a Beis HaMikdash, is in a temple which is made out of stone. Shlomo HaMelech made a temple, not like Moshe Rabbeinu made a temple out of which covered the temple was hides, animals, or vegetation. But Shlomo HaMelech built a tent Avonim, built a temple out of stones, because that's ultimately where there needs to be a revelation of God is an inanimate thing. That there's a revelation of godliness in a human, or even in an animal, or even in vegetation. The ultimate revelation is in stone, and that's why the Beis HaMikdash, the third Beis HaMikdash, that we built in Avonim, we built in an inanimate object in stones, because godliness, revelation of godliness, has no difference between a human being and a stone. The Eibishter reveals himself in any aspect of the world, because everything is a vessel. Everything is a receptacle for God, whether you're a human being or even an Evan, or even you're a stone. So we have in this thing, the Alter Rebbe explains, and this I gave you just an introduction to this chapter 52 of Tanya. We can look now. We can read the Tanya and see the words of the Alter Rebbe, and see the way he expresses it, the aspect of the different expressions that we use in the names of God. And we all know that there are 7 Shemus HaKadosh, that there are 7 names that we express God in, because it's connected to the 7 middays, the 7 attributes that Kabbalah 52. So the Kabbalah, I'm going to share with you the Tanya in 1 second. There's 52 names, the 7 names of God express himself, which is the 7 middays, 7 attributes, which is a name. A name is self-understood, not Atzmus. A name is not the Atzmus of Mahus, is the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, has no name. We don't have a name. Ein Sof, infinity. We try to find a name. It's nameless. So Yud Kei Vavke is the closest name that we give to God. Yud Kei Vavke, which we don't even say. Haya, Hoiva, V'yia is, will be, and was at the same time, which is a Mailam and Asech, it's above comprehension. That's the name with comparison to the world of Atzilus, the world of emanation, which in the world of emanation, in that first world, the Chochmah Atzilus, over there everything is unified, it's all one, even though it has come into some kind of a world, but still unified as one in that world. Let's look at the Tanya itself, and we'll go from there. And we'll share the Tanya. So here you have the Tanya of the Alter Rebbe, chapter 52 of Tanya. I believe, yeah. Here is the 52nd chapter of the Tanya. Let me make sure it's 52nd. Did I make a mistake? Yes, it is. Okay. So we can learn. I hope everybody can see it clearly. We can learn the words of the Tanya, like you were sitting in Chabad and you had a Tanya. Just like the human soul, the principal manifestation of the unified vitality in the brain. So in the brain, in Chachma, in the brain, over there, everything is unified. It's before the energy has come into the body, each one into its own place. Over there, there's unity. In Chachma, there's unity. That's in general. In wisdom, there's unity. In emotion, you have a problem. That's why the best thing is to become a little bit less emotion and have more intellect, especially in a difference of opinions. That's why the sages, when you look at Gemara, Bavli, learn Gemara, they argued on everything, but they still loved each other. Why? Because they argued in Seichel, in Chachma. And in Chachma and wisdom, there can be differences. Chachma handles differences. Wisdom handles differences. It's when it comes into understanding, that's ain't they same Shabbos. Two people don't understand the same way. So that's why in Chachma in the world, in the first day of creation, which is symbolic to the level of Chachma, over there is Yom Echad. Over there is unity. There, everything is one. Right? And in the brain, while the organs receive merely a light and a potence, which radiates to them from the source of the manifestation of the said vitality in the brain. So in the brain, the power of Chachma is like the Ma'or. It's like the difference between the Ma'or, the light, the sun, and the light of the sun. So in Chachma, it's like the Ma'or. In the Ma'or, in the illuminator, everything is united. It's as one power. It's as one force. And from there, it shines to different parts of the body. If you can comprehend, if you understand Chachma, that's why the Mishnah says when he wants to express what's Chachma, it's very difficult to express what is Chachma. That's why the Alter Rebbe writes that Chachma really is Koyach Ma. What is it? Koyach Ma, the potential of what? The Mishnah in the Pirkei Avos, it says it wants to express what Chachma is, expresses from the negative. It says if a person says I have Chachma, he doesn't know what Chachma is. Because Chachma is something that is not, you cannot box Chachma. You cannot box the concept of Chachma. Chachma is something that's a unifying aspect. It has within it, it can handle many different, it can have the opposites. It can handle difference of opinion. It's when you come into Bina, where now it's very difficult to handle difference of opinions. Because now everything has become into its category, come into its box. And one box cannot handle another box. So in Kabbalah, this concept is when you have yichud, that is where you have a greater revelation of godliness, is when you have unity. When godliness, when there's no gilui lakus, when suddenly the revelation is diminished, you have pirud. You have separation. You have different agendas. You have different concepts. I'm not talking about negative, or even a positive way. You have difference. You have chesed, and you have gevura. And it's hard to have a skalus. It's hard to have the unity and the mixture of this, unless you can again connect it to the chachma. You can connect it, go back to your chachma, to the power of chachma. So therefore, if you want to understand the way God, ultimately the way God's power and creation force comes from, you always need to go back to Chachma, Kulam b'Chachma Sisa. You need to go back to Chachma, to the aspect of wisdom. Just like there's wisdom in a human being, so too there's wisdom in God. What is the wisdom of God? What is to us humans the wisdom of the Eibishter? And that's a simple answer. The Torah. The Torah is the wisdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? Torah is the wisdom of God. And the mitzvahs of the Ratzon of the Eibishter. So the will of God. So to a Yid, if he wants to understand how to connect to the Eibishter's Chachma, my friend, you need to learn Torah. You need to learn Torah. The more Torah you learn, the more you connect to the Chachma of the Eibishter. Simple as that. And when you learn Torah Lishma, meaning you're not learning Torah because you want to know something, which is also in Torah, to the aspect of knowing what to do or not to do. That's also a concept in Torah. But I'm talking about Torah for Lishma. Torah Lishma means I'm learning Torah for the sake of learning Torah because it's the Chachma of the Eibishter. If I can learn Torah Lishma, then I'm learning Torah for the wisdom of God, and that's why I'm learning Torah. I open my mind. I open my Chachma. to realities which I might never be able to attain if I would not open my seichel, my chachma to the chachma of the Eibishter. You know, it's very interesting. Yesterday in the Pasha, that yesterday the Pasha, the Torah brings about the two the Sheila Sachochem and Sheila Sarosha. You listen to the Pasha carefully, that the Torah brings down that that the question of we say in the Manish, in not the Manishtana, in the Agada, we have the question of the Chacham and the question of the Rasha, which seemingly they both said the same question. Ma Veda Zeis Lachem. What is this service for you? So what's the difference between the Rasha and the Chacham? They're both asking the same question. What's the difference? But if you look in the Torah, you'll see the difference. There's a nuance of a difference in the Shilas HaChacham and the Shilas HaRasha. I'm sorry. So I know I'm going to have problems finding it now. So, but let me see if I'll have to tell from memory. So the difference is that the Chacham asks and the Rasha says. The Rasha is saying a statement. And that's I open up actually to a pasuk. So this is the way the Torah says the Rasha says his statement, because actually the first expression of the Torah is the Rasha. The Rasha's expression. That's in chapter 12, verse number 26. And it'll come to time where your children will say to you, what is this service? It's not going to be in a form of learning. It's going to be, they're not asking a question to learn, they're asking a question to answer. There's two ways of asking a question. The Rasha doesn't ask a question because he's inquisitive to learn. The Rasha asks the question because he wants to make a statement. He wants to actually answer his own question. He's saying a statement. Why am I a Rasha? Why am I? You asking me why I'm a Rasha? I'm telling you why I'm a Rasha, because I don't. What is it? What are we doing all this? So I'm answering myself. I'm giving you the answer myself. Why am I a Rasha? If you look later on, the Torah again expresses the question. The Torah gives the question, and over there, the Torah uses a different wording. Over there, ki sha'alcha bincha. If your son will ask you, oh, that's the Shilas HaChacham. That in the pasuk is the question of the Chacham. It's the same question. He asks the question, what are we doing? Yisha'alcha bincha. When your son will ask you, what is this Aveda? It's the same question. Trying to find the pasuk. You'll have to trust me if I don't find it. So I can't find it whenever you look something. So over here it says when your son will ask the question. So that's somebody want to say it? Somebody knows it over there? Okay, I'll get you the pasuk, but I don't want to keep you over here. So over there, the Torah says it will ask. Tell you, trust me. So I can't find the second pasuk. So I found the first pasuk. Over here in verse 26. Okay, well, I'm not going to look for it. I'll find it. So over there is the concept of asking. So there's an aspect of asking the question, and the concept of saying a statement. What's the difference? So that's Chachma. Chachma is Koyach Ma. is always asking the question. I'm looking for. Yeah. Okay, we found it. So it's in Mafter. It's in the Mafter, chapter 13, verse 14. If your child will ask you, Ma Zeis, what is the same question? Ma Zeis? What is this? That's the Shilas HaChacham. That's the question of the Chacham. The difference again is the Chacham asked the question. He's searching for an answer. He doesn't understand. That's Chachma. Chachma is always searching for a question, but not because he's trying to challenge what he's doing, because the Chacham is always searching for a great understanding. And that's Chachma. Chachma always searches for, because Chachma can handle many things. It's not challenged by a question. That's the opposite. It says if you want to learn, you have to ask a question. That's Chachma. Chachma can handle an argument. That's the whole Talmud Bavli. We can have arguments as long as it's for the sake of learning. It's for the sake of unity, not for the sake of disunity. That's the Rasha. The Rasha is not asking a question. The Rasha wants to say a statement, wants to prove himself right. The Rasha is answering himself. He's telling you by his statement that that's why I'm a Rasha. He doesn't want to learn. And that's not Chokhmah. That's not the content. That's separation. It's you, not me. You, there's you and there's me. There's Pirud. You can do yours, I understand, but I have questions, and that's why I cannot be like you. And that's not Chokhmah. That's not the aspect of Chokhmah. That's not the concept of wisdom. Because Chokhmah is the concept of unity. In Chokhmah, there's the aspect of unity. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu, who was the Chacham, was the smartest, who had bittul. Chokhmah demands bittul. Chokhmah demands nullification. With this Chokhmah, there's the capability to have difference of opinions, and there's a capability to have humility. Okay, let's go back to Tanya. So too, figuratively speaking, the essential manifestation of general esteem of vitality animated the worlds and the created the air and clothes itself and contains in his blessed will, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge are all called b'shem moichin. They're all called the concept of intelligence. So you have within in that box the Sfirat Keser, will. Again, I mentioned will because I wanted to say mitzvahs, Torah mitzvahs. Will is the mitzvahs. Chachma, Bina, and Das, which is wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, which is Chabad, as they exist above, are all collectively called intellect, intelligence, moichin. Within them is enclosed the stream of the infused vitality, which is the first revelation of Oid Ein Sof. Is Chachma da Atzilus, in simple terms. The Chachma in the world of Atzilus, the world of emanation. That's the first place. Just like in a human being, it's Chachma, so too in Kabbalah, the first revelation of godliness is in Chachma. And where is this Chachma? As I told you. And this Chachma, and which has within it intellect and will, Ratzin, which is Keser, in Kabbalah, the crown. It's no secrets. This is in Torah and mitzvahs. Torah is Chachmasei Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Torah is the wisdom of God. You want to know God's wisdom? Open the Torah. You want to connect to God's will? Do a mitzvah. Very simple. And therefore, the best way to connect to the Eibishter and his Chachma and his Ratzin is to do Torah mitzvahs. And there's nothing else that you need to connect. You know, there's really nothing else. Everything else is extra credit. There's nothing else that really a Jew needs to do to be able to bring down and reveal the Chachma of the Eibishter and the Ratzon of the Eibishter in the world, but through learning Torah and through doing mitzvahs. And what will you gain out of that? The Alter Rebbe says simply, what are you going to gain out of it? I mean, how is that going to help me for breakfast and lunch and supper? How is that going to help me in the world? The Alter Rebbe says very simply, the manifestation of this general flow, this is the source of vitality of the entire world. The whole world receives its vitality from the Chachma of the Torah. Not something only that's going to be good for you and me. The whole world receives its vitality from the Torah. Without the Torah, without the mitzvahs, this world has no existence.
I read something this week that physicists believe that previous universes may leave an imprint on this universe.
Okay.
So, if we think of mitzvahs in this universe as not just having an effect on our immediate existence, but something more profound.
I 100% agree. I'm not arguing with that. 100%. Because when you learn Torah, because again, where does Torah come from and mitzvahs come from according to this? It comes from the world of Atzilus, from wisdom of the world of emanation. You know how high the world of emanation is in the Stalshus in the descent of worlds. It's the closest to Ein and Seif according to Kabbalah. So it comes from that level and it travels ultimately into this world. So when I learn Torah, especially when I learn Torah L'Shma, for the sake of connecting to God, because I know that the Torah is God's wisdom. And therefore I'm just going to come back to the questions. I will never stop asking questions in the learning of Torah because it's unlimited. And I'll always debate and I'll always argue in the learning of Torah because it's unlimited. The knowledge is unlimited. So whatever I know today is nothing what I should know tomorrow. And hopefully tomorrow I'll grow deeper in the knowledge of Torah. Because why? Because I continue to affect upper worlds. By me learning Torah in this world, I affect worlds, upper worlds, greater worlds, angels, etc., etc. Yeah? Another question?
Yeah, Rabbi, that's a magnificent concept. And what the fellow was referring to was a question, was that the world, the universe that God created that exploded, and then we're now gathering the sparks as the children of Israel and Egypt did?
Yeah. I don't know what he was referring to, but in Kabbalah...
He said previous universes.
Right.
So it was.
I don't know if he meant that, but he'll say for himself, Alan. But yeah, Api Chassidus, the Eibishter created worlds, Shviras HaKelim, and there was the sparks that came down from these worlds, and ultimately we're elevating those sparks. We're elevating those sparks through learning Torah and doing mitzvahs, especially mitzvahs, maasiyos, especially physical mitzvahs that are pashat bring down godliness in a pashat, a very physical way, in a very strong physical way, which is ultimately the purpose of the whole Stalshus Ha'olam, is the migrations and the dimensions of the Chassidus looks at the whole world, Alan, as a chevel, like a chain. Ilul va'alul. It's like a chain, cause and effect. So when I pull the chain in this world, when I have a long chain, it doesn't make a difference how big the chain is, whether the chain has 10 rungs or 10 million rungs. When I pull the chain down here, it has an effect on the millions of rungs. Doesn't make a difference how many rungs on this chain. When I pull the chain down here, it affects a chain lamaila. It affects it above. And that's why Chassidus emphasize this concept that nobody should think he's small. right? Because if you understand this concept, it doesn't make a difference if you're a big guy or a small guy, meaning not big and physically in size, but in stature, in greatness, in godliness, whatever you want to say. When you and I, a simple Jew, pulls a chain down here, it affects the upper world. Because that's the way the Eibishter put it into existence. So when I put on tefillin down here, even though I don't know why I'm putting, I don't have the great understanding in Kabbalistic terminologies of tefillin. I don't understand the great, you know what? I'm putting on tefillin because it's a mitzvah. And that's the greatest lashma that you can put on tefillin today. It's a mitzvah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. God wanted me to put on tefillin. Last week's parsha, the Eibishter said, I want you to get up in the morning and put on tefillin. And by you putting on tefillin, you know what happens? That's what we say. The Eibishter says, when you put on tefillin, I put on tefillin. What does that mean? What does it mean? Because when I put on tefillin, Chochmah Atzilus puts on tefillin, so to say. It affects the world of the wisdom of the world of Atzilus, which is the closest, which the essence of which God is also connected to that. So the Eibishter puts on tefillin, so to say.
And I think it said that tefillin taps into spirituality, that it taps into chakras or something like that.
Tefillin is an ois. There are very few things that is a sign in the Torah, like Shabbos is a sign. Bismillah is a sign. Tefillin is a sign. Maybe it says tefillin is ois. It's a sign that the connection between a Jew and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a sign. So like Bris Milah is a sign between the connection, the circumcision is a sign. Tefillin is a sign between the connection of a Yid and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is an unbelievable thing. You don't realize the power of this mitzvah. Not only the power on myself when I do this mitzvah, but the power that it affects the whole world. The Eibishter says the power of tefillin, when a Jew puts on tefillin, it brings about an unbelievable revelation in the world. It transforms the world. And trust me, again, that's the greatest level of doing something l'shma, of doing something, because that's the Eibishter wants you to do. Because, look at the words of the Alter Rebbe says over here, again, that we have to realize that this is a source of vitality of the world received. Each one particular receiving a diffuse glow that shines forth from its source. Why? Because in the source of the world, Chachma, over there the whole world is in it. Kulam bechachma sisa. It's important. The Alter Rebbe wants to emphasize, if you go to the source, Kulam bechachma sisa, you go to wisdom. Over there in the source, everything is there. It doesn't make a difference. Humans, animals, inanimate objects. Everything is in the level of Chachma. It's all there as one. That's its source. So that's why a Jew needs to go to its source. And the Alter Rebbe gives the same analogy I said 2 minutes ago. Between the luminary and the light. The light, the luminary is the sun. Who makar like the earth, like a light that radiates from the sun. Again, by way of an example, an analogy, where the rays are but a diffuse glimmer of the sun's essence, or as the faculty of the organs of the body derived from the brain. Whatever analogy you want to give, whether you want to give an analogy of the sun, you want to give an analogy of the brain, take your whatever analogy I'm going to give you to explain this concept.
In modern thought, there's a belief that the stomach has some of the qualities of the brain in terms of affecting the immune system and so forth. Is that conveyed at all in the Torah?
Sure. The Torah you have the concept of moyach and midas. Your emotions are in your heart, which is in your capacity, the body of the stomach, the place of the stomach. And actually have to be a melech is moyach, lev, and koved. Moyach, to be a king over oneself, you need to have the moyach, the brain. You need to have the lev, which is the heart, which is the source of midos, the source of one's attributes, emotions. And you need the kaved, which is the liver, which is the one that cleanses out the blood of the heart, right? The heart is the blood. So in essence, Chassidus says there are two things, there are two places which diffuses throughout the entire body: the brain and the heart, right? The brain infuses energy to the entire body. The heart infuses blood. We need both of them. We cannot live without one without the other. You cannot live without a heart. You can't live without a brain. You cannot. Both of them, you're dead. There are two major arteries, two major functions in the body: the brain and the heart. But the most important thing is Maya Shalat Alev. The brain must rule the heart. Must rule the heart. The brain must be the dominant to rule. Now the brain understands the importance of the heart. That without the heart, you're not going to have an existence either.
So if one used an analogy of looking at this universe as well as fields, energy fields or imprints from other universes, I'm not sure what we would conclude.
Yes, other prints, it all comes from the brain, from Chachma. Your neshama might be imprinted from many universes. Your neshama, according to Chassidus, according to Kabbalah, has been in existence before the creation of the world. So that means your neshama, and according to the Arizal, your neshama has been through many existences before it came into my body. It's down Google on neshama, the reincarnation of souls. We are, and ultimately, even if you're not let's say you're not a reincarnated soul, every soul is connected to another soul. So you call the patriarchs your father. We are or our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, all interconnected, generation to generation, medur l'der, from one link to another link. That's why it says you're a link of a chain. That means, what does it mean you're a link in a chain? That it's a cause and effect. That means that your previous generations are all cause and effect to what's imprinted on in your soul. That's why the beauty is that we can redeem our grandparents and our great-grandparents and our great-great-grandparents. That's why as Jews, we believe when we in this generation bring redemption, we don't want to bring redemption to us. We bring redemption for the last 3,000 years. Mashiach is not only for this generation, Mashiach is for all generations. We're going to bring redemption for the last thousands of years. Moshe Rabbeinu is waiting, Alan, that you should bring Mashiach. He's waiting for you to bring Mashiach, and then he'll come back. He'll thank you. He'll say, Alan, thank you for bringing Mashiach because you affected me. You brought redemption to me. I can now come back to the world, and do everything that I need to do in the world. So here's the Alter Rebbe. Let's go into the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe says everything is in the way we express it. Everything has a name. That's the way we live in the world. Everything has a name. We're going to give it a name. And the name in Kabbalah, we call it Alma Disgalia, with the world of revelation, the world of manifestation. There is where everything is revealed. In your wisdom. That's why it says another, you have an expression, who is a man whose wisdom, he can see the future. He's not closed into the, living in a little world. He has the capability to see the whole world. That's the greatness of tzaddikim. Greatness of Talmidei Chachamim, great sages. They were not stuck in the present only. They had the past, the future, and the present. That's why it says Moshe Rabbeinu, the way the Zohar expressed Moshe Rabbeinu saw the past, the future. He saw the beginning and the end. He saw the beginning and the end. And it's also called, the Alter Rebbe says, it's called Maternisa. which is also the concept of a queen. Or it's called in Kabbalah Ema Tata. Ema Ilah and Ema Tata. There's two levels in Kabbalah. The mother, the way the mother is in the lower level of the mother, the higher level, as you can see over here, known as nether mother, the lower level of the mother. For Bina, two is known as mother. As the verse says, alludes Bina as the mother. Bina, however, is in the higher level of mother, while Malchus is the nether mother. So Chachma imprints itself in Malchus, and ultimately in the lower mother, or Matranisa. Or in Kabbalah, you have the word in the Torah. The Torah expresses itself as the Shechina. The Shechina. Well, also in Mikdash, in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, you're going to come to the Parshas Truma. Pasuk over there will say, "Va'asul mikdash v'shachanti," the presence of God, Shechina, is also this aspect. So Malchus is also called the Shechina. So why do we have all these names? Why do we have all these expressions? The Rebbe says, here the Alter Rebbe says, let's read it. Al Shem Shemok is Eurasia's Galasay and say the above mentioned source called the world of manifestation. I started off, the Alter Rebbe said, I started off the world, Almadis Galia. In Kabbalah, it's called the world of manifestation. Why? Because over there, in the world of Chachma, that's the beginning of manifestation of Ein Sof. That's the beginning of the revelation of the light of Ein Sof. Since the source itself constitutes a revelation, in itself known as the world of manifestation because its own nature, not because it vitalizes the revealed world. It's called queen because in this level, which extends to illuminate the world in a revealed manner, similarly to a queen, where through her, the wishes of the king is revealed. And that's the concept of a mother, queen. Malchus is called Malkusa. Shabbos is called the queen. Shabbos HaMalkusa. So it has a melech. Why? Because in the Shabbos is revealed the true purpose of the melech, the Eibishter. The Eibishter is revealed on the day of Shabbos, which is called the Malkusa. It's also called the queen. But ultimately, it needs to come lower. This concept needs to come into more of a revealed manifestation. And that's why it's called the Shechina. Is it called the way the presence of God comes into every human being. I'm not going to only reveal myself in the queen, in the Shabbos, I'm actually going to reveal myself in every single human being. From this source, it extends to each individual thing. The world or created a particular light and a vitality suitable for it. But for this reason, it's called the nether mother. I'm sorry, this is even before Mishachanti. For this, which is called nether mother, Malchus, for it's the mother, the source of the particular form of vitality for each and every creature. And then and then the light dwells and encloses that in them, in the world and the respective creatures, thereby animating them, which is the Shekhinah. So we go from level to level, going back up to this page, to this side of this part of the page. It goes from now with this Galia, it comes into Matanisa, and from there to Ematata, and from there to the Shechina v'Shachanti b'Seicham. That's the journey of Chachma as it comes ultimately from its source into every single person. Very Kabbalistic over here. Let's go back. So, since in it dwells and animates and enclosed within the world and creature, it's called the Shechina, which as previously explained, it means indwelling. But now, until now, the Alter Rebbe has clarified how the light is source in the world and the creatures in general. He now goes to explain how it's also the source of the Jewish soul. Therefore, it's strictly called the mother of children, meaning the Jewish souls. And it's also called the Knesset Yisrael. It's also given the name the community of Israel. The Alter Rebbe says, here you have one concept has many names because it all depends the way this energy, this light comes down into different aspects. So it's also called, this light is called Knesset Yisrael. Why? Because Shemok is there, Netzon Neshamas Tatzilus, Venivru Neshamas. So Malchus is called the Knesset Yisrael, the gathering of the Jewish people. Because from there comes out, from that level of Malchus, which connects to Chachma, comes out the Neshamas of all Jews, which is in the world of Bria, in the world of creation, which is right the second world after the world of Atzilus. So we know in general in Chassidus, the world of emanation is the beginning of all worlds, Atzilus. From there it comes out to the next world. Malchus of that world creates the world of creation, which that is the world of souls. From there it goes to the world of emanation, which that's the world of angels. And then it comes to the world of action, which that's the creation of the entire world. That's why souls are higher than angels, and angels are higher than this world, and ultimately everything else comes out in this world. Kulun, and if you take the whole picture, and all of them, all the worlds, creatures, and souls, all of this picture which I gave to you, everything is thus being derived from the extension of the vitality of the light. It all comes from the Eibishter, it all comes from God. The Mokka HaNikra Shechina, which is the source, which is called the Shechina, all comes from Malchus Tatzilus, all comes from the Shechina, which in Kabbalah is the Malchus Tatzilus, kingship of the world of Atzilus, world of emanation, which comes from the Chachma of the world of emanation, which has within it Oid Ein Sof, the light. As the analogy, Kispastus Oid Hashemesh, as the resembling the radiance of the light of the sun. Whoa! What do you think about all this Kabbalistic talk?
I think it went way over my head, my comprehension today. I'll have to learn it 101 times first.
Okay, so we have not a rush. You should.
I'll work on it.
Everything you got to start off with learning it once, and then you can learn this. And the truth is, you're 100% right. This is something you need to take and learn just to get to used to the wording and the terminology, and to get to understand this concept. It's a Kabbalistic concept. Torah, that's nothing. The Alter Rebbe is just teaching us Torah in more of a delicate form, or more of a Kabbalistic form, but it's basic. Nothing. There's nothing hidden over here. It's all the Torah expressed in the wording of the Torah. You just have to take the knowledge, learn the Torah in its Kabbalistic way, and you'll be able to have an understanding, a spiritual understanding in the way the Eibishter created the world. And the real reason of it is really to understand that it doesn't make a difference in the upper worlds or the higher worlds or the lower worlds. They all come from God. That's really the teaching over here. They all come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ein Sof, It's like the sun that shines forth, and ultimately the sun shines forth and gives life to everything in the world.
Yeah.
So too the Eibusha shines forth and ultimately comes down into different manifestations, different realities, and ultimately to every single Yid, which I just realized it's 11:05. Really wanted to continue, but I think we'll leave it to next week, and we'll continue with Shem next week. This chapter, hopefully we'll finish chapter 52. And Tanya, after you read it 101 times. So we'll test you before we'll start the Tanya next week. We'll test you. We'll see if you know how much you know. Sarah will test you, and the Tanya, I won't test you at all. But you can selflessly learn the Tanya. Today it's easy. I just share with you Chabad.org, chapter 52 of Tanya. You can learn it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
God bless you all, people. It's a pleasure learning with you. I want to mention to remind you, we have a couple of more boxes for Wednesday night. We're going to take a journey in Tu B'Shvat.
No, you don't. I just bought 3 more.
Okay, so we're running out of it. I know that we have over 75 orders. I don't know how much my wonderful the Rebbitzins, Rebbitzin Shana Chani made of the and my daughter Larissa made boxes, but when we run out of the boxes, we run out of it. So if you still haven't received the box, please call the office at 487-2934 and come together with us on our journey on Wednesday night, this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. We're going to sit together in our homes, and we'll all have our box, and we'll go through the Shiva Minim and the beautiful teachings of Chassidus Kabbalah on the journey of the way the Eibishter ultimately came down into fruits. And he just 7 different kinds of fruits and the different kinds of wines, which is all this journey of Atzilas Bri Yitzir Asiya. So this journey doesn't go in the neshama, but it goes also into the fruits of the way the Shiva Minim, the Shtapcha B'Eretz Yisrael, the 7 kinds of fruits with the Eibishter God blessed the land of Israel. So it's all also in the fruits, the vegetation of the world. So
I'll have something tangible to understand.
Right, you'll be able to touch the fruit and eat it as you'll go through the world of Atzilus and the world of Bria and the world of Asiya. And it's all, you see, everything is connected, interconnected.
I have to say,
they found that light can be in liquid form. So as far as radiating to different parts of the body or different aspects of reality.
Especially if you drink 4 cups of wine, there's going to be a lot of lights in many different ways. So, Alan, thank you for coming back. You have animated my Tanya shit today, and you woke up a lot of people, so I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Because as we say, you have to have the Shilas HaChacham. You have to have the question of the wise man that wants to learn and wants to understand, and learning never ends. So I hope to see you all Wednesday night. Whether you have a box, you don't have a box, but if you have it, you can.
Rabbi,
yes.
If we order the box,
yes.
When do we pick it up?
On Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. So as long as we order it,
it'll be available when officially there is an official time pickup, but we do realize some people
I think it's
won't be
11
able to pick that time. So make sure you call the office and tell them if you can come Wednesday. I think it's between 1 and 2. I'm not 100% sure. But they'll tell you exactly when the pickup is. And then I know that the Seder is going to be at 7 p.m.
Perfect.
And I know
okay,
for
great.
sure, 7 p.m.
Wonderful.
We'll sit down with the box and we'll go through together, each one in the house. But we'll all do it together on the Seder. It's going to be on their wine. There'll be the wine and bread and all the different fruits. And it'll be a wonderful evening together. I just want to also mention that that there's a wonderful class coming up, which is a Journey of the Soul.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a phenomenal JLI course, which they once gave it, but they enhanced it and made it even more deeper. And it's going to be an unbelievable Journey of the Soul, which is starting on February 4th. And if you want to participate, also you should also call the office to get the book. the journey of the soul and be part of this class starting on February 4th.
And
I wish you all
Rabbi,
a beautiful week. What?
I have to say, last night, Havdalah and the Living Torah was magnificent. My favorite topic. The Rebbe went berserk there. It was wonderful. We want Mashiach now.
Amen. That's Mashiach. Amen. I like that. The Rebbe went berserk. I didn't say that. Okay. But
Oh,
okay.
it was wonderful. Well, you know what I meant.
I know.
Not in a bad way, only good
God
way.
forbid. Yeah, it was great to
God
learn with
forbid.
you. And I also, if you want to learn Tanya, if you want to learn Chitas every day at 8 a.m., you can
Yeah.
come and learn Chitas and Chumash Tilim and Tanya. And God bless you all, everybody. Have a wonderful
Thank you.
Sunday. Have a
Thank you.
beautiful Sunday. Today is Chesed. Go enjoy the world.
Thank you,
Okay.
Rabbi. Thank you.